I try to rename the title a little bit, because it's not only about knowledge, not only about value chain. And as I'm today the last presentation, I'm sorry, Pierre, maybe I'm contributing to puzzle you a little bit more because the topic is complex. So easy it is. So just one word for you, and what is Plastics Europe? Plastics Europe is a pan-European association of plastics manufacturers in Europe. We are organized in diverse centers. So myself, I'm from Frankfurt and responsible for the central region of this organization, which covers these countries from Poland, Czechia, Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, German-speaking countries, Germany, Switzerland, and Austria formerly. Until last year, we also had to care for the 3 Baltic countries, but it was decided last year that this will be in the area of the North region. So nevertheless, we are intensively networked, and for you it's simple because you can contact whatever question you have on plastics, be it Plastics Europe España, Plastics Europe Polska, Plastics Europe Italia, etc. So for the content, just to give you our view on the plastics value chain. So we are here from the plastics producing industry. We are very closely related to chemicals industry because it's a very simple step when you have a chemical plant, a cracker which produces ethylene. So simply to create polyethylene is not much knowledge, not much technology about it. So that's very routine on the chemical sides, and what you see right hand side, that's the products, so-called pellets. And then what you need further on is a plastics machinery. It's a complete different industry type, but you need the machinery in order to create a certain product. And this product is being produced then by the converters or processors, or as you like, and they are producing halfware. So that means the halfware, whatever kind of product is in packaging, in leisure, electrical, or whatever, will not stop and will not end here. So that means the value chain in reality is much broader and much longer. One thing is very clear: whatever kind of interim product is, which you can see here, nothing of that is being produced to be a waste, and nothing of that is produced to end up in the ocean or in the landscape. So we have to take that very clear. So this is the overview. First of all, I would like to bring you about the level of understanding on what is that plastics and plastics industry. But I think here the second topic is of crucial importance for our aspects, proper and improper waste management, when we want to argue, when we want to understand about the discussion about the ocean. We call that marine litter if something ends up in there. So that's just, I was carefully listening to a previous presentation. There was a tiny word which was named demand. So the demand is very crucial also for our industry. So anything which is being produced is demanded by the customer industries, and this is the demand in Europe for 49 million tons of plastic raw material. And 1/4 is the dominating market in Germany, but other countries like here, Italy, France, United Kingdom, Spain, also Poland, are very important economies. And one thing I can say very intensively, we have weekly and daily meetings because of the Brexit. So that will concern us all over Europe, definitely. This is what you can see about the demanding industry sectors. In the majority, it's the packaging industry, 40%. Building construction is the second most important one, followed by automotive, electrical. This picture is very interesting when you look to the diverse countries across Europe. For example, in Germany, the packaging industry sector is only 1/3, so it's much lower. That means other countries must have a higher proportion in there. So for Germany, the electrical and automotive applications are more intense than here at the European average. And then you just to have a short flashlight. Again, on the left scale, you see the application sectors: packaging, building, construction, automotive. But here you see which kind of polymers are used for that application sectors. This is because all of these applications need to fulfill their performance. the specifications for the use, because this is only be possible for certain material properties. And this is not only the case for the plastic material, it's also the case for metals and any other ceramics, whatever material is in the final end product. So we are not talking about plastics, we are talking about final end products. So, and this is what we did as well, kind of life cycle assessment. So what is the environmental impact during production, during use and end of life? This was a study performed by the Austrian Institute Denkstadt. And they found out the energy consumption in the production phase can be reduced by a certain degree, but not everything. Lots of improvement is possible in the use phase, but this is very simple calculation, because when you are insulating a house, you easily can reduce the heating energy and so on. So the same is with lightweight, etc. And finally, end of waste. Of course, you need to utilize the resources, be it material resources or energy resources. So the dominating power here is with the use phase. That is here the message. And now this is also important because we are looking at the lifespan from environmental perspective. This is more the practice. So our industry is here just right-hand side, raw material producers, but then it enters to compounds, processors, converters, fillers. There are even interim stages between. We earlier have learned that there are different supplies in between. OEMs, the trade distribution, retailers, of course, all these underlie certain legislative rules, and we in chemical industry, we have a very stringent permit rule, otherwise if that is not fulfilled, there is no license to operate. So that is very clear, and these rules are very strict for the emission control into air, water and soil as well. The same is with fillers, packers. Product law is valuable for the OEMs who place the final end product on the market. Also, the consumer has a certain role, namely for correct and proper use. So if you put a candlelight on a TV screen and you go sleeping, so that is not really responsible, so you don't need to wonder about what happens. And of course, this is then the waste value chain, which we call at the end. So there are the waste collectors, sorters, and the final end products from the final recovery and disposal. So there are quite some responsibility. We can say we are responsible only for the first step and not all the other steps, with one exemption, which is namely that there is a so-called producer responsibility. That means it's according to the European legislation, so very well set and needs to be implemented across Europe in each country. And that is the trick. Not each and every country is implementing in the same manner. And therefore we have differences, and we have differences also across the countries in the situation system. There are some countries which are performing good and others not so good. We'll come to that later on. So this is the European overview. The production of polymers is 57 million tons, 48, sorry, that's an elder data, so 2012, the new data is 49 million tons. And then there's a consumer demand. We always have import and export. Please be aware, this is a really global business. So for the German producers, there is no single producer who is not active on the Asian market, very clearly. So otherwise the system will break down. This unfortunately contributes to this kind of complexity. And then finally the waste, and there are two types of waste we need to understand. So first is the post-industrial waste. That is waste, for example, if you have wrong charges, but nevertheless you can very clearly specify which type of waste it is. There are markets, there are internet bourses about that waste, and it's really demanded by the recyclers. And there are other wastes, predominantly from the consumers. And we know, we have assessed that it's about 26 million tons across Europe. And this is then being sent in Europe to either recycling or energy recovery or landfill. This is the data we have assessed. One thing is also very clear, we have these statistics only for the plastics, but this is not reality. Reality is that we have final end products, and the final end products say, oh, it's 620 million tons of municipal solid waste. That means, in fact, the plastics is only a proportion of 4%. And that tells us the story that we need to think about, what should we focus on? Should we focus at a material? Is it a plastic? Is it a paper? Is it a glass or a metal? Or should we think about a product? Which kind of packaging is it? Is it a cup, plate, or is it a pipe, or whatever product, electrical appliance is it? And then it enters the waste management schemes, and also the waste management schemes, they orient to the final end products which the consumer want to discard. And hopefully everything is done on a proper and solid way. And this is a situation across Europe, so you can see here the diverse countries, starting from Switzerland, Austria, Netherlands, etc., down to Greece, Cyprus, Malta. And this is a situation which clearly says, speaking about one European average data is not really reflecting reality. So when we look to the practice, we clearly see there are 9 countries who can do that quite well. So nearly everything is being recovered. But many other countries have a lack of infrastructure, which you can see here in this gray area, because this gray area reflects the landfill. So that means there are countries which need to improve in the infrastructure, and therefore we conclude divert from landfill will boost that, because in countries like Denmark there are tax schemes. In Germany we have a landfill ban, more or less by legislation, and this is the motivation: go away from landfill, make use of the resources, be it material resources or energy resources. And again here, this is the role of our industry, where we see we need to be responsible with respect to the producer responsibility scheme. And with that regard, certain organizations have been established in Germany, in France, Spain, Italy, so to name only a few ones. But we need to understand also it is not only industry who is active with waste, it is also the municipalities. These are completely different stakeholders. Partly they go conform in one direction, but partly they understand themselves as competing operators. So we need to understand countries which role they play. And that is not very easy. We were very, very happy. Last week in Germany it was decided that the packaging waste management can be organized on a scheme where both municipalities and also the industry entrepreneurs find their role. So that was a very, very intensive time we had. And now we come away from proper waste management to improper waste management. This is a picture which you can see. We took it at the holiday season. I'm sorry to say it was in Spain. You can easily say at the beach. So we had our fun here at the beach. And what happens when you observe the people, the sun is moving. The people are also moving. But the waste is not moving. It's still there. Nobody cares for that. So who is responsible now for what? I beg your pardon? You found somebody. And you should use the energy as a lubricant, yeah? So we try to analyze the system, the problems, and because our statistical data are only able to report about what works well. We are, even if it is 100% landfill, it doesn't appear in the landscape or in the ocean. So we need to find measures in order to encounter the problem, and we found out there are quite many measures, be it legislation, be it the prevention measure to prevent that anything appears in the environment. Educating information we have as well, of course, product design, repair, environmental effects. And we discussed what we should concentrate on as plastics producers, and this is first of all information and education based on sound facts. And of course we want to do everything to prevent that anything appears in the ocean which doesn't belong there. We are not going for product design because this is being done by our customers. So the packaging designers, of course, they take that as their role, but not we. We are also not going for repair. That means we are not going for cleanups. But of course we allow that because this is a matter of raising awareness to certain people. So that therefore these three measures are our concern. What did we at the first instance? We were sitting together. I told you we are very close to chemical industry, so these are here the logos, the symbols of the German Chemical Industry Association. So there is the Chemical Industry Association, there is the Cosmetics Industry Association, there is the Fibers Industry Association, and the Textiles. We were sitting together and say, hey, let's try to understand the problem and who has to play which role. And we tried to make it easy, and therefore we divided it only in 2 chapters. The first one is the waste and thrown away articles, and the second one is about the microparticles. And the microparticles is a little bit more also diverse in understanding, because you cannot compare a fiber with a cosmetics means. So there are differences that the people and the chemical industry is important, because chemical industry has to fulfill the best available technologies according to the European rule for the wastewater treatment. And what we observe is that wastewater treatment is also not so easy, because there are interrelationships between municipal wastewater treatment and industrial wastewater treatment. So we have to understand that as well. So the task was to bring facts with that paper. So we try to define what does that mean, a microparticle, and we find out we need different criteria, not only the size, but also the interesting point, business to consumer is valid for the cosmetics industry, B2C, and business to business for the plastics producing industry, because our customers are the converters and processors, and normally nobody is able to buy these pellets in a shop, like a yogurt cup, like a bottle, like whatever. So that was the first exercise, and it was not so easy. And this is a very interesting study of the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany. You may know it's a rather famous academician institute. And they were thinking about the entries of the so-called microplastics in German waters. And what they found here is a peak which says what's the annual entry in gram per capita. And the annual entry, the most challenging is the tire abrasion from cars. The second one is the waxes and technical applications. I don't know what technical applications means, but we have to ask these people from academia. Then transport losses and sports fields. I was very interesting to read about shoe abrasion, clothing and textile, and you may raise the question, where is now the microplastics from cosmetics and where is the microplastics from our pellets? This is what you find in here, rather low bars compared to the other ones. And the Fraunhofer made also a stakeholder embracing. But the message, what I realize here, the term microplastics is not only understood as one material only. So it's a multi-material approach which we need to keep in mind. And this is what the Fraunhofer did as well. So there are different kinds of stakeholders. It's the industry, the consumers or consumption, mobility, building construction. Waste management is very important as well. So we were last week having a kind of dialogue session with the plastics value chain. We were talking with the processors and the waste recyclers. Hey, dear waste recyclers, you are dealing with pellets. Are you aware of that? No, leave me away. We are producing something good, which is good for the environment. Everything wants to have good recycling rates. So it's a positive thing. But we say, hey, please be careful. We need to come together here to make something for the future. And of course, fishery. Another way for analysis, robust data measurement, that was an announcement in German newspaper. Microplastics appears in milk, honey, which was really bad, beer. And then there was another university which said, hey, we need to go and make a structured and solid assessment on academic point of view. And that was the University of Osnabrück, and they showed us a picture and said, hey, this is a specimen of the fibers, textiles. So, but we want to do it solid. Therefore, we have to take also a reference sample. And the reference looks like this. And then I said, hey, what is the difference? There is no difference. So where does it come from? You cannot make a statement when the reference even looks like that. And it was very clear the fibers come from the dust from the air. So the big problem is here, which is the procedure to take samples and the procedure to make analysis. In the first case, with the microplastics in honey, it was clearly found out 80% was simply sand and not a plastic material. And therefore we said, hey, that cannot be like that. Another exercise here from the Danube River. That was an analysis where it was announced quite some tons were being measured every day because of a rainwater overflow. Because of that, even administration in Austria said that cannot be. We have to make robust science data as well, which we did. I will skip that here because of matter of time. But you see from the dots that there are massive more aspects to be considered. And they found out the real microplastics is only a small proportion, and the total amount also complete different order of magnitudes. So we have to be careful, in fact, what we are talking about. So this is another analysis. I will make that short like this, but thanks to the European Commission, we have the knowledge about the river bassins. We have the knowledge about the coast areas. So we try to put that together and create a model for the microplastics and the waste particles. And we found out the river entries and the coast areas are most important here. That's the wrong direction. Yeah, and this is a matter of standardization, which is also becoming active to analyze in a proper way. So quite some things. And now I can run through like a film, because this is our communication activity. We have a global declaration with plastics, chemicals, industry. One thing is very clear. Plastics do not belong to the ocean. Plastics Council, a World Council was established. We are doing lots of communications activities. Even the school book we have included here. We have also more school works differentiated with primary and secondary schools. We have here, this is one fun flyer, which is also on the desk over there. Talking with the booth, sports leisures. This is a brochure. You can also look on the web. This is a very interesting thing, a knowledge transfer project where other countries need to learn from the knowledge. This is also important because it's not only us as industry, but it's also the administration. So it's the government of Hessia, which is supporting clean countries. Another one is the Fishing for Litter project, which we have seen. And one outlook. You all know this picture. Which is really a big mess, that there are rivers which are completely filled with plastics waste. But I was participating this month, last month, sorry, the G20 workshop on marine litter, which is a global workshop as well, and we have observed there is hope for the future. This river today looks like this. So it's clean, and how does it come? That was a question. It comes because the Bürgermeister wanted to be re-elected, and he made advertisement to the citizens. So, and he managed within the time frame of 2 years to clean up the river. So that's excellent. So then I think we can focus and concentrate on our challenges. Thank you very much for the attention.